All right. Well, President Trump escalated the rhetoric and military pressure on Venezuela this week, touting a blockade on oil tankers and accusing the country of threatening U.S. interests. Now, Congress is saying, oh, we've been briefed by the president. He's right. They're terrorists. They're doing stuff. You don't know it, but they're doing it, and we want war with them. President Trump is expected to address the nation tonight. We don't know exactly what he's going to say. This happens at 9 p.m. Eastern, but there are speculations that one of two things. Maybe one, he's going to tout the merits of his fiscal policy. He's been on a tour saying the economy's great. It's going to get even better. You just hold on to your horses. More concerning, though, is that some say that he is about to announce a war with Venezuela. Here is Judge Napolitano and Tucker Carlson this morning on a live stream saying just this. Watch.
Is Trump going to start a war in Venezuela?
I don't know. I don't know when this program airs, the one that we're on right now. This thing's maybe live.
We're live now, and then it'll be posted immediately. So now.
So my sense is, I don't know the answer. I've certainly been on the phone a lot about it. I have no power. I'm a podcaster, but I'm very interested. And so here's what I know so far, which is that members of Congress were briefed yesterday that a war is coming, and it'll be announced in the address to the nation tonight at 9 o'clock by the president. Who knows, by the way, if that will actually happen? I don't know. And I never want to overstate what I know, which is pretty limited in general. But a member of Congress told me that this morning.
Okay, well, he's hoping he's wrong. I'm hoping he's wrong. Let's all hope they're wrong, unless I don't know what. Joining us is Camila Escalante. She recently was in Venezuela and reported from the ground. Thank you for joining us. I want to ask you, now that American congressmen are coming to their Twitter page and saying, oh, I have some proof, this is definitely about terrorism, what do you think the narrative would be if they are, in fact, going to sell this full board?
There hasn't been a shred of evidence shown to us. We still don't have a single piece of evidence or information about the identities of those almost 100 people who were extrajudicially killed at sea since early September. We have no idea who they are. To be able to say that they're fishermen, to be able to say that they were or were not doing anything, we have to presume it's completely made up, because if they have that evidence that they were part of some sort of criminal organization or people who have had involvement or charges similar to this before, then surely they would come out with it. People have been demanding this information. So it seems like it's all just part of this same completely made up in part psyop that is actually just they're designed to wear us all down, exhaust us, keep people wondering and asking questions. And they even held this supposed intelligence briefing to Congress in which probably nothing new was brought to light. It's all just claims that they're making up and they're disseminating and deploying over social media and through their different information channels to try to confuse people, when in no way is it about drugs. We've even seen the renewal and extension of sanctions by the EU pitted against Venezuela, sanctions that were rolled out in 2017. And nowhere in their reasoning for sanctioning Venezuela have they even mentioned drug trafficking or organized crime. They're still on the line about human rights and democracy, as always.
Right.
So it's really just the United States who's trying to make this about narco-terrorism or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, you and I know that the State Department produces these annual reports on every country in the world, is basically like, what do we think about Ukraine in the year 2025? What do we think about Venezuela? And the drug line, the through line is not, so they'd have to basically go back and edit those 1984 style in order to sell this. But Congress is acting like, oh, but we have something new. And so those of you who think you're studied, you're not, right? And so how the heck are we supposed to buy that? I mean, I want to sort of always leave this little, like, maybe I'm being cynical, maybe there's something there. Can you see anything in the little hole that I'm leaving for the benefit of the doubt?
Well, it's a part of a very elaborate but messy and transparent plan that they have because they need the pretext. Obviously, they've actually dropped the pretext. They don't even need a pretense anymore, and they're just doing whatever they want pretty much out in the open, but they can't do everything like that. So there are a lot of military movements around the region, a lot of agreements being signed as well. In order for the United States Southcom to be able to position itself militarily around the region, they have bases all around South America, all parts of South America, Central America, and the Caribbean, as you've seen. And really, this is why Venezuela refers to Trinidad now as a U.S. Air carrier. They're saying that these countries are being used in order to position the U.S. military around Venezuela for its future war. And to be able to do that, they've gone for years, including under the Biden administration, to each one of these countries and coerced them into signing these military agreements under the guise of being a security cooperation in which these different countries and their militaries will be given new equipment to the tunes of, hundreds of billions of dollars worth of things, as well as training, and to be able to update and maintain their military and police if they allow these countries to do things like install a new U.S. radar system, like on the island of Tobago. And so they're signing these agreements in places like Ecuador and Costa Rica and Paraguay. And this week, we're seeing the return of U.S. troops to the Manta Air Base in Ecuador. There's all sorts of movements taking place, not just the positioning of these ships in the Caribbean Sea and these crazy rogue operations in the Pacific, but they're also essentially, occupying portions of other countries. And once these countries enter into these agreements, as we've seen in the case of Honduras and Colombia, which now have leftist progressive governments that are very much trying to be neutral or actually support Venezuela, it's impossible to back out of these agreements. They're stuck with the Yankees.
Right now, we are being poisoned, right? Every day we're exposed to more chemicals sprayed into our skies, leaching into our food, polluting our air and water, from pesticides, heavy metals to hormone disruptors. It's all there. But there's something you can do to fight back, and it starts in your gut. And our friends from Brightcore have made something called Kimchi 1. And I take it every day. I take 2 capsules every day. It contains over 900 strains of beneficial probiotics. Yes, kimchi. It helps flush out toxins, restore gut balance, and support your immune system. When your gut is strong, your body can resist this stuff. You'll feel the difference. Better digestion, more energy, clearer thinking. I can tell you that is absolutely the truth. Stronger immunity. A few weeks ago, the whole house got sick, all the kids got sick, and I didn't. I didn't get sick. They were down and out for a week. We had to take them to urgent care. My daughter got influenza A. We had to take her to urgent care. Guess what? I didn't get sick at all. I don't know. Is it because my immune system is stronger? Is it because I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying they're related, but all I'm saying is with a house full of kids, if you don't get sick, something's going on there, right? So Kimchi 1 is all natural, non-GMO, dairy-free, gluten-free, and 100% made in the United States by a company that actually cares about your health. Today, you can get 25% off your order by using the code Redacted. Just go to mybrightcore.com/redacted. And here's the best part, though. If you want to get 50% off, call them. They have an 800 number. It's 888-404-6312, and you get up to 50% off and free shipping just by calling them. And on top of that, they're going to give you a free bottle of vitamin D3 with your order. Again, I use this every day, and I just paid for it. I just bought I bought a 6-pack of them the other day, and I gave them a call, and I don't like pull strings. Hey, do you know who I am from Redacted? I just called them and used our code. I got our discount. I ordered it and paid for it myself, and I have it shipped right to my house. So I use it every day. I absolutely love it. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. Go to mybrightcore.com/redacted or call them to get 50% off. 888-404-6312.
We were watching the news in my house, and my nephew saw the bombs of these fishermen boats, and he goes, "You can just do that? You can just go?" And I was like, "No, you're not supposed to." But I guess my question to you is who's going to stop us? If Congress maybe passes this law, will the president abide by it, or will they continue? We really don't know. They can continue to expand the mission. So in a real world scenario, what would make this stop?
Well, one thing that could be happening that we're not really going to have information on, even someone like Tucker Carlson will likely not, know this in advance, is that there are always ongoing dialogue channels open and possibility of dialogue between President Maduro and his envoys and Trump's envoy. They could be talking right now, for all we know, in the hours leading up to Trump's address tonight. So anything could change in a small amount of time. There are a lot of other, there's a lot of factors. There's been complete recklessness on the part of the U.S. government that actually has brought in a number of other countries into this situation. They have obviously killed. We know that they have killed at least people from Trinidad and Colombia as well, citizens on those boats who are said to be fishermen. And this is affecting the business of the different regional airlines, the majority of which are not Venezuelan airlines, such as Copa, that's a Panamanian airline, and their ability to make money and travel to and from Venezuela. It's making it extremely dangerous to travel throughout the Caribbean, and there have been some near accidents above Curacao and such. And so there's a lot of pressures right now, economic pressures. These are considered to be important stakeholders as well, these different kinds of businesses that are trying to operate in the region, not just in Venezuela, but in the rest of the Caribbean. So they're probably exerting pressure on their own governments and on the United States as well. So things could change really quickly. But in the meantime, it's not just the military pressure. It's not just an attempt to impose a naval and air blockade in Venezuela. There have also been cyber attacks against PDVSA, the state oil company of Venezuela, and other sorts of attacks like the ones against Venezuelan infrastructure that we've seen in recent years. That's also designed to mount pressure in lots of ways. But the important thing to say is that the reason why the United States has to escalate militarily right now against Venezuela is because Venezuela has actually been victorious in overcoming the sanctions war, the economic war. They're actually in a period of economic recovery in which you see stores, you see businesses, you see foreign investors returning to the country. Things are getting better. Tourism looks better. Everything has gotten better in the last few years, and people are able to buy things like normal. So they really have been able to overcome a lot of what had caused the most harm in the crisis during those years. And not only that, we saw the head of the Bolivarian Armed Forces defense minister come out with his statement. This is the same person who's commanded over the Venezuelan military since all of this for the last decade. They've not been able to bribe away a single high-level functionary, and certainly not anyone from the military during all of this. So it has been a complete failure, the strategy since at least Obama against Venezuela, but actually dating back to the beginning of Hugo Chavez's term in office, has been a complete failure. And so that's why they've had to continue escalating until this point.
Now, one thing I'm worried about, this will be my last question, is that the United States could very well turn South America into the Middle East. And by that, I mean that our continued war crimes in the Middle East turns extremists against Americans. We saw that with the Pulse nightclub shooting. I could go on and on, right, of all of these attacks on Americans because of what we do there. And that these people have said so explicitly. Is there a chance that South Americans could rally together against the United States? I mean, I know that this is a collection of very, very different temperatures of countries, but what do you think of this concern that I've got?
Well, I think it's a really important question that South Americans and people across Latin America and the Caribbean are having to ask themselves right now, how to exert pressure on the different governments. Because as some people and some governments have stated, any war on Venezuela, even if it has specific narrow targets, even if you believe such a thing exists, would have an immediate effect on all of the surrounding countries Certainly Colombia. And Colombia is being dragged into this in more ways than are even being mentioned. Just this week, the U.S. government designated another supposed criminal organization active in Colombia as a foreign terrorist organization. So obviously this is part of their larger strategy, is to involve a lot of these different countries. They're making similar statements about the different narco activity in Mexico as well. So it seems like they're pushing for some sort of regional war that affects large swaths of the continent. They just want to destabilize. Ultimately, it is a empire in decline. They want to set fires everywhere they can, bring everyone down wherever they can. They want to destabilize. They want chaos. They want vacuums. They want to be able to have countries be completely parted and parceled out, because this is the only way that they'll be able to fight for power anywhere. And so on the one hand, they're looking at the strategy of trying to rig elections, to influence peddle, to try to interfere in the electoral processes, and that way get in control or put leaders into different countries. But then they're also just trying to cause instability and chaos everywhere.
Well, thank you so much. You do a great job of explaining the threat or lack thereof, and why the Trump administration would continue to sell this. So I ask you, the audience, are you going to buy it? Are you here to buy a new war? And if so, why? Thank you again, Camila. It's been great to talk to you, and I hope to speak again.
Thank you.